Hello, this is a very late week 3 recap, and then I'm just gonna go straight to week 4 predictions. Um, First things first, let's talk about the Bears. But first, let's look at their playoff chances. Of course, they got a win. It was about as ugly as possible. Um, but at the end of the day, a win is still a win. You know? A win's still a win. So I'll take it. If we lose next game, we still have a decent chance to make the playoffs at only a 59%. It's 41% chance of making it. And I'm gonna be honest, there are people expecting us to start 3-0. People expecting us to go 0-17. Two wins already this early in the season. I did not expect us to beat the 49ers, and I was actually having a doubt or two about beating the Texans. How people were talking about my team, but even then, I still thought we would be able to beat them. I knew it was gonna be ugly. Fields had, of course, the worst game of his career. I'm a little worried about it, but I'm sure he'll bounce back. So here's quickly with this. If you win next game versus the Giants, we will have a 49% chance. If not, 59% chance of missing the playoffs. The best case scenario, we'll have a 48% chance, and that'd be Saints beating the Vikings, Bears beating the Giants, of course, and the Patriots beating the Packers. Next up, um, and let's say, what if we go? I think our best record 9-8. We'll have a 31% chance of making the playoffs. I think the best we can possibly do is 10-7, though. Anyway, without further ado, let's recap. So, Bears, Texans. Texans are the second worst team in the league, second only to the Las Vegas Raiders. I knew they were going to have a down season, but 0-3, I think this is a must-win game against a beatable Broncos team, which, while they are 2-1, my Bears are 2-1, and I honestly think the wins they got are better than the wins the Broncos got, because the Broncos got the only win. Oh no, that was the Niners beating the Seahawks. Never mind. What? Who did they win? They had a really bad game, an absolute slugfest game against Jimmy G, where they won by 1 point. A safety won that game for them, pretty much. So yeah, it was a slugfest game, and they barely beat the Texans, just like us. We actually put more points up against the Texans, and actually were able to score a touchdown. So we did better, but the Texans also did better against us. But at least in my personal opinion, even though Fields did rough, I think our wins are better. However, at the end of the day, 2-1 still 2-1. The Broncos are 2-1. It's been a crazy week. It's all around been a crazy week. I'm getting sidetracked. Back to my Bears. Fields had the worst game of his career, but I'm not really that worried. You know, during development, obviously your goal is to win every game. Well, not every game, but your goal is to win enough games to make the playoffs. That is the goal of a coach going into the season. And so far we are doing that. We have 2 wins. We have more wins than losses. That is good. We have won multiple games. Fields has been struggling, yeah. But development takes time. He's not going to become great overnight. He's going to probably have a few more rough games. He's not going to have like a standout amazing game next week. It's going to take a while to develop him, especially with the new regime change and how little weapons he has. It's going to probably take a good 2 to 3 years from when he was drafted to develop him. It's going to take another 2 seasons probably. He has his talent. The athleticism is there. We know we have a very athletic, talented quarterback, so we're not worried about that. It's the mental stuff that we are working on, and that can be worked on a lot better than athleticism. So he has the talent. We know that. It won't be easy, and luckily we have an offensive line. Worst case scenario, it doesn't work out. With our great offensive line, it seems to be getting better. Only problem is the part of the offensive line that doesn't really work is some of the most important. That's the receivers. Receivers need to get open. They need to be able to catch the damn ball. The O-line's been a little better blocking and giving them time, so I'll give them that. But they still need to be able to move the pocket better, get Fields more open reads. Blame, of course, goes to Fields for his bad throws. However, it shouldn't all fall on them. It's like 60% him, 40%. There's only so much he can do. Now, if he was on a team like the Buffalo Bills and he was playing like this, then I would be really worried. Because the Buffalo Bills have all the talent, have everything a quarterback needs to succeed. Like with the Niners, they have the talent. If these are a talented team, but the Bears, of course, are not a talented team. If we're just being honest, I think they're going to be better than people expect. I mean, you ask some people, we were supposed to go 1-16, 2-15, or 0-17. We've already beaten that, and I highly doubt we're going to lose out the rest of the week. I mean, look at the schedule. There's a good amount of winnable games. We beat the Jets, beat the Falcons, beat the Lions, beat the Viking Week 18. That's a winnable game. That's a winnable game. That's a winnable game there. That's, in my opinion, that right there is every winnable game. And of course, I think they have potential to upset the Packers. Potential to. But that's just because it's a divisional game. So there's 9 winnable games in the schedule, plus a possible upset versus the Packers or Cowboys. And if you factor possibly winning one of those games in and then losing a winnable game, for example, maybe losing against the Patriots, this team I think is going to win 8 to 10 games. 10 games at the very most. So this team is going to be better than people expect. It's possible, it's good. We've already won. People expected us to go 1-2. We've already won a game that no one expected us to win, so we're up. We are ahead of schedule. Overall, though, despite Fields' rough performance, the run game looked amazing. This team has a really bright future. Roquan Smith got the game-winning interception to kneel it out for a field goal. Cario Santos kicked it in. The Bears win 23-20. Khalil Herbert had 2 rushing touchdowns and I think over 160 yards rushing. He is a stud. He looked great. This game wasn't as close as it looks. We should have won by at least 10 points. But quarterback had a rough game. And these are the type of games where he should be allowed to make these mistakes. Failure is the greatest teacher for a quarterback. And if you baby him all the time and don't let him make these mistakes, he's never going to develop. Um, it's going to be rough. It won't be easy, but this team has a bright future. We weren't going to do much this season, and we're already 2-1, which is surprising. So, you know, it's nice. Great learning experience for Fields. I think he'll come back. It won't be pretty all the time. It'll probably be a couple rough games after this, but with time, he'll come through. And worst case scenario, it doesn't. We still have a great offensive, a better, an improving offensive line. Our defense is looking nice, and we have so much damn cap space, so we can just pick up a new quarterback if it doesn't work out. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I'm still a Fields believer. If you want to give up on him after 13 games, that's your problem. Because a lot of quarterbacks were worse for way longer than that, and they turned out good. 13 games is way too early to judge him. I'm not. I'm a believer. But at the end of the day, he showed, at least he ended it off with some good passes. He did what was needed to win. He had to throw some passes at the end to win and get us into field goal range, or at least burn clock. He did that. He took accountability, and yeah. Overall, ugly, ugly win. However, I would take an ugly win over a pretty loss, unless maybe that pretty loss was against like a non-division rival and Fields threw like 10 touchdowns, and we still managed to lose. But I mean, that'd be like what, 70 points? If we scored 70 points and still lost, that would be a defensive collapse. Yeah, Fields will be fine. A lot of positive takeaways from that game. I know it was just the Texans, but still, great win, Chicago. 2-1. Let's go. Next up, another absolute snooze fest of a game. The Broncos versus the 49ers. Wow. This game sucked. I'm just going to be honest. This game really sucked. I fell asleep during it. The only highlight of it really was the Broncos managed to win another game very unconvincingly. They scored a touchdown. Woo. Um, what else? What else? Shit, I don't know. Oh yeah, Jimmy G ran out of the end zone like Orlovsky did, and scored a safety on himself and threw a pick six on the same play. That was funny. That was pretty funny right there. But yeah, this game sucks. This game was very forgettable. Niners fall to 1-2. If I'm a Niners fan, I'm getting a bit worried because the Bears, of course, you lost to the Bears. Um, that happened. And if you lost to Seattle, you would have been 3-0. But you blew out Seattle. The only touchdown Seattle got was by a fluke block play by a defense. So you held the Seattle offense. Um, I think it's just fluke losses, except the Bears game. The Denver game, you just weren't in there. Jimmy G was, just, I don't know. Bears game, you got beat by the better team. I made a lot of mistakes. I think they're gonna bounce back. I think they'll rattle off a couple wins, and then probably lose to the Chiefs, and then from there, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. Other than that, shit game. Next up, the Thursday night football game. The Brownies versus the Steelers. Woo! I had to watch this game on Twitch because every Thursday night football game is on Prime Video now. But they do live stream it on Twitch for people, thankfully. Um, and watching a football game with Twitch chat is a very fun experience. I'm not gonna lie, it was very enjoyable. Um, it says 29-17, but in reality, the game ended 17-23. It was a one-score game until the last play. They fumbled the ball, got a garbage time touchdown. And I mean, it's good for Browns fans. Run up the score against your hated rival. Um, for people that bet on the spread, like we're probably really pissed off about that one, or like the over/under. So yeah, sucks to suck for those people. That's gotta be rough. Literally, the clock was at 0. Um, that's rough. That's really rough. Yeah. Well, other than that, the game was actually pretty nice. Browns are now 2-1. They're first place in the AFC. I thought they would be a lot worse under Brissett, but maybe things aren't as bad as they thought. They're going into Falcons week. They're going against a Chargers team that got blown out by the Jaguars of all teams. Looking at this list, they could probably go 4-1 or 3-2. Only game I don't think they're gonna win is probably. I mean, the next 3 games I would view as must wins because looking in this stretch, I think the only winnable game is the Bengals. They're gonna lose to the Ravens. They're gonna lose to the Dolphins, and they're gonna lose to the Bills. But we're not doing predictions here. I'm getting really off track. This video is gonna go on for way too long. Holy shit. Next up, this game. I go and catch a little bit of this game. I was mostly watching my own game, of course. Um, the Raiders are off to a really rough start. I thought they would be a lot better with Devontae. Um, I was hoping it would be a lot better with Devontae, which means I hope the Packers would be a lot worse without him. But I guess I'm just gonna have to wait for Rodgers to retire for the Packers to be bad. You know, it sucks to suck. Luckily, we only play them twice a year. Because if we had to play them every single game, we'll go like 1-16 every year, maybe 2-15. Ugh. But it is what it is. Titans, much needed win. I thought they were gonna be 3-0. I thought they were supposed to be the cream of the crop of the AFC South, but fucking Jacksonville of all teams, and they're also 1-1-1. That's a pretty rare record. I don't think I've seen that before. It's pretty Is that 500? Let me see. Yeah, that's 500. Huh. Weird. But anyway, Titans get a much needed win, and the Raiders are going on to play the Broncos. And I'm gonna be honest, if my Bears were 0-3, we lost the Giants game, I would probably think the season's over. Even though it's more of a development season for the Raiders, it's not a development season. This is a season where you gotta make the playoffs. You know, you have a decent quarterback in Derek Carr. You don't have the fallback of, oh well, we could just tank like my Bears do. If we have a bad season, we'll get a draft pick. You know, if we do okay, we'll still have like a draft pick. You know, Fields looks good. It's a win-win no matter how the season plays out. We win some games, nice. But I prefer it either we go full tank and Fields is bad, or Fields is good and gets to the playoffs. With the Raiders, there's no incentive to tank. You gotta be good, and if you lose week 4 and start 0-4, your season's not looking good. And if you start 0-5, you're done. You're done. So I would consider this game a must-win for the Raiders next week. Next up, pretty good game. Ravens bounced back after a horrific choke job last week. Against Patriots team. Wait, when did I pick them to go? Oh, yeah, I forgot. Oops. But yeah, Ravens bounced back pretty good after that. I think um, that defense looked amazing. Lamar Jackson looked amazing. However, the thing I want to talk about is Mac Jones got an injury. He was crying super hard. He was crying really hard going into the locker room. That must have hurt so fucking bad. I heard like it was a ligament or a hamstring or something. I've had those before after a pretty nasty fall, and they really hurt. So I hope he's okay. From what I heard, he's only gonna be out for like a month or something. So yeah, rest up, Mac Jones. I think he is gonna have a great career in New England. I think every quarterback. I think Fields is gonna have a good career with Chicago. I think Zach Wilson is him. Trevor Lawrence obviously showed out today that he is the guy. I think Trey Lance needs a little bit more time, cause he's barely start. You know, like it would be hypocritical for me to be like, oh, we got to give Fields time, which is true. We have to give him time. If I can, I'm not gonna call out Trey Lance because Trey Lance has barely started any football games at all. This is like what is like fifth start ever? No, he needs more time. I think it's too late to quit on any quarterback drafted last year. Hell no, way too early. So please be able to get back on the field soon. Next up, Joe Burrow comeback game. This is a much needed win. They needed to win this game and they needed to win it big to try to bounce back because if they lost this game and started 0-3, all the narratives would be, corrected. People, but oh yeah, they're frauds. They're going back to the cellar, but now they're 1-2. They blew out an opponent. They gotta start. I think my biggest goal with the Bengals is you gotta get back up to above 500 at 3-2, 4-2. You started the season off bad, but all that matters is how you end the season. You can start a season 0-7 or 1-6, and you can end it 1-6 or 11-6. You know, you end the season like 9-1 after losing a bunch straight. All that matters is how you end it. But you gotta right the ship early. Next up, this is a massive upset. Not much to say about this. Chiefs just got outplayed. They just didn't come with the seriousness they needed. They got upset. It happens. I'm gonna take a nap in a bit. Oh my God, 20 minutes already. I spent half the video on the Bears game. Um, the Colts, good for them. They needed a win, and what a better win than to upset what people may call the Super Bowl favorites, even though Super Bowl favorites are the Buffalo Bills, in my opinion. I think the AFC Championship could very well be Bills Dolphins. Next up, next up. Dolphins Bills. A great game. Miami Sun, I think, got to the Buffalo Bills. Bad clock management at the end of the first half and at the end of the game. The offensive coordinator had a meltdown. I'm not worried about the Bills. It's one loss. Um, this Dolphins team is a legitimate threat in the AFC, and I'm gonna call it now. They're gonna make the playoffs after beating a legitimate opponent like that, and not in a fluky manner too. I think they're gonna make the playoffs. I didn't predict them to make the playoffs in my prediction videos, but I guess I was wrong. They're gonna be a lot better than I expected. I thought they were gonna be decent this year, but I didn't think this decent. But yeah, Mike McDaniel, great coach. Good job. Next up, Jags, Chargers. Chargers, I predicted this in last week's predictions. Um, so it's just like I felt it. I felt it that just something about this Jags team and just the Chargers, they always seem to lose in an upset game like this every year. They did it last year, they did the year before. They'll lose to a really bad team. But I did not think after this, I don't think I can call the Jags a bad team. I'll wait until see what they do next week against who they playing next week. If they can go up against the Eagles, put up a fight, they're gonna win this one. They're gonna win this one, and I think they can win. I can if they can keep this up until like week 8 or whatever. If they can stay above 500, then we gotta take them seriously. They're not gonna go 3-14 again. That's for sure. Great win by Trevor Lawrence. Just utter domination on all sides of the ball. Just great win. Great win. Next up, the Lions choked multiple 10-point leads in this game. It was just all around just a rough game for them. And it's kind of sad to see, not gonna lie. I really wanted them to win this game, if I'm being honest. I like the Lions a lot. They're a really good team, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And I don't think they should not be underestimated. Um, I felt like the Lions were a better team going into this game. The Vikings only won off like a last minute touchdown. This Lions just gotta work on not letting these chokes happen because they keep happening to the Lions and it sucks. It's the worst way to lose a football game. There's no worse way of losing than choking a lead. It sucks. Better luck next time, Lions. I mean, you're playing. Who are they playing next week? You're playing the Seahawks this week. You got this. Next up, Eagles are, dare I say it, dare I say it, they are the best team in the NFC right now. I mean, literally they are, record-wise. But I think they keep this momentum up. They might be in contention for the first seed. Obviously, you have your favorites, the Rams, the Bucks, the Packers, but all those teams have had some glaring issues that I really have not seen on the Eagles. They just look like a complete team on all sides of the ball, from quarterback to wide receivers to O-line to defensive line to special teams. They just look complete. And that's something I don't see in the Bucks. I don't see in the Packers. They're good teams, yes. They will win games. But they have glaring flaws. In the quarterback position with Rodgers, they're getting up there in age. Wide receiver, special teams with the Packers. With the Bucks, they have their own. The Eagles team looks legit, and they proved it with a blowout win against a division rival. Um, and now they're going to play the Jags. And I got a bunch of games up in the schedule. Oh wow, they have a wow. They really have an easy schedule. I wish I had that schedule. Yeah, they have one of the easiest strength of schedules. Okay, maybe they're having easy opponents, but still, good teams finish off their opponents. That's what they've been doing so far, and I like where they're at. Next up, Panthers Saints. Panthers finally get a win. It wasn't really that pretty. I don't really have much to say about this. Saints. This is not a good win to drop. A rough loss. It happens. Sucks, doesn't it? But I still think the Saints are better than the Panthers. Baker Mayfield has been disappointing, to say the least. Um, and at the end of the season, give me the Saints finish with backward. However, the Panthers should not be underestimated. I think people are saying, "Well, they're gonna be a worse team." No, they're not. The Seahawks and Falcons are gonna be competing for worst team in the NFC. I predict the Panthers to have what, 7 wins? I'll still stick by that. Maybe 8. Baker Mayfield will do enough to get the job done, but hopefully he starts producing better. Like if he can start producing like 2020 Baker Mayfield, the Baker Mayfield that blew out their biggest rival, will put up 48 points against him, then I think the Panthers will. That's what the Panthers need right now. I want that Baker Mayfield back. Next up, a game that I really didn't watch. Um, I gotta get Red Zone. I really gotta get Red Zone. Falcons, Seahawks. There's not really much to say about this game. Two bottom basement tier teams playing, the Falcons. I predicted the Falcons to win this game, I believe. Seahawks. They both have 1 win, but I'll give it to the Seahawks. Their 1 win was way better in every way than the Falcons' lone win right now. Um, yeah, because like the Seahawks, they beat. It was a massive storyline game on prime time. They just did everything right. So that 1 win was pretty good for the Seahawks. I'd rather have that than some 4-point win against a bad team. Congrats, Falcons. Next up, another game. Rams, Cardinals. I watched a little bit of this. The Cardinals are what, 1-2? Um, they gotta get back up to 500 because, they started what, 7-1 last year before losing to the Packers. Um, yeah, you gotta do better than that. I know it's against the Rams, the Super Bowl champs, but come on, come on. Next up, Packers, Bucks. Um, I'm concerned about the Packers' offense. It just looked very lackluster, but still, it's enough to get the win. They didn't really produce, but they did what they had to. They produced early on. They got touchdowns. Um, it's really concerning with the Bucks too. Tom Brady is kind of showing his age, firstly, and secondly, putting up 12 points is not going to win that many games. The Packers defense looked great. Um, the offense kept stalling out. Or that defense came in clutch, just three and out, just refusing to let them cross. So the defense won the game, in my opinion. A great Packers defense. I predicted the Bucks to win that game. And I genuinely thought they would, and they came really close. They just fucked up on the last play, ran out of time, just an embarrassing gaff. And I think if they got the ball off, they would have tied it and went into overtime. But I still think the Packers probably would have won via field goal, so it would have been 17-14 final with a Mason Crosby kick. Finally, Monday Night Football. This gives me faith that we can beat the Giants. It started off really, really slow. It was like what 6-6 tied at halftime, or 6-3 or something. It's like this week has been so many entertaining games in like the 12 p.m., 3 p.m. slot line. But once prime time starts, we get stinkers, absolute stinkers. And that kind of sucks. You would expect the primetime games to be the best of the best, but it's just that hasn't really been the case. Just hasn't been the case. Cowboys just looked better. They had their own problems. The Giants had their own problems. Not really much I want to talk about it. It just wasn't really a good game. But at the end of the game, I'm sorry. I'm really tired right now. I'm gonna take a nap before I film Week 4 predictions. I gotta think about it. Good week of football. Going into Week 4, here is our schedule predictions. I'm gonna just pick some teams. Oh, yeah, tie. But yeah, so I'm gonna film this in probably about an hour, and I'll bring that up. Wait one second, let me check. Okay, okay, so they 8:30, and then what 8:30 games are there? GMT 5. I'm trying to find the London game because I know there's only one London game. Okay, that's Thursday Night Football. That's tomorrow. Okay, so I'm good. This is obviously the London game. Because that's at 8:30, so that's gonna be pretty cool to watch. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm gonna film my predictions in about an hour, and I'll have that up by then. See ya.